Hi and welcome to today's show. I have a book review for you. It's Your Own Kind of Girl by musician Clare Bowditch, and it's all about anxiousness and hope. The show comes to you today thanks to the Your Family Stories system, which is a step-by-step guide to help you record a loved one's life story. And I'll have more information about getting some free sections to this system at the end of the show. If you haven't come across Forever Young autobiographies before, a big g'day. It's the place where we learn to write life stories for family and friends so that unique memories can live on. And I would absolutely love it if you could follow, subscribe and like the show. So this book, the book review for this week is Your Own Kind of Girl, the stories we tell ourselves and what happens when we believe them. And it's written by ARIA singer Clare Bowditch. She's also been an actress. And she is quite well known here in Australia, but she's known for her songs. And this is a whole other take on her life that she's sort of kept under wraps until now. This memoir came out in 2019. It's by Allen Unwin Publishers. It's 352 pages, so really solid effort there by Clare. It's won many accolades, including Australian Book Industry Awards Best New Writer, so fantastic award to win as a new writer. It's also got some praise from fellow musicians here, including we've got Bernard Fanning, we have Kate Miller-Heidke, Missy Higgins, and journalists Lee Sales and Annabelle Crabb. You might remember Lee. I did a book review of one of her books recently, so I'll make sure I'll link that for you. So this memoir by Bowditch is a promise that she made to herself when she was 21, and she'd gone through a major breakdown, and she thought, if I recover in the future when I'm old, so she said when she thought she was old she would be 40. She doesn't think that now, but she did keep true to her promise to her future self to write this book. And in this show I'm going to give you a little bit of background about what the book is about, the bits I found interesting, and the takeaways I think would be useful for us as life story writers. So let's start off with the first bit about what this book is about. It begins actually really happy memories from Bowditch. She talks about growing up in Sandringham, which is a suburb of Melbourne in Victoria, Australia. She's the youngest of 5 children. It's a Catholic family. Her father is Ian, he's a lawyer, and interestingly went to the Olympics for fencing. And her mother is the wonderful Marianne, and she is from Holland. So we're introduced to this very big, happy family in Victoria, Australia. As the book progresses, tragedy hits hard for the family. Bowditch's sister, Rowena, is diagnosed, she's not diagnosed, she develops this childhood condition. It's like a sclerosis. I think it's called Devick's disease is what it is referred to. So this is a condition where she loses her sight and her mobility. She actually has to go to hospital where she stays for years, 2 years, and Clare and her mother visit every day. And Rowena actually dies when she's 7, and this is an enormous traumatic event for Bowditch. There's other things going on in her life. She's what her mother calls an Amazonian build, so she has this perception for body issues and bullying, and also, of course, there's a normal teenage loves and breakups and things happening. So this all has an effect on Bowditch, and it kind of climaxes when she's living in England on a working holiday, and she has this anxious thoughts bring on a breakdown, a major breakdown, where she's forced to return home to Australia where she's cared for by her parents. So really major breakdown for poor Clare there. But she's able then to, get over these thoughts that her life is over. She thinks she's gone crazy, but she discovers a road to recovery, and it includes this life of music and that she meets the love of her life. So I won't give too much away there. That's essentially what the book is about. Though there was many interesting parts to this book, it's very hard to pick out a couple to share with you. The first one that I thought was very interesting was how humorous and entertaining this book is for something about anxiousness. Like, it really was a joy to read. And I listened actually to the audiobook, which I think had a little bit of an edge on the actual hard paperback, because Clare, you get to hear snippets of Bowditch's songs and she gives some explanations behind those. There's also snippets from her singing as a tot, I suppose, in her childhood onto these tapes that her mother would send back home to her family in Holland. And Clare is wonderful at making up characters and accents, and she does these little skits in the audiobook too, which are really, really funny. So that was quite an interesting discovery. And also on the audiobook, actually, her mum, Mariana, comes in at the beginning and at the end of the recording. And at the end, it's quite funny. They're talking about her delicious comfort food, the Dutch apple tart. And yeah, she's just so cute and beautiful the way she explains this recipe for us all to cook. So I found that really, really lovely. A second interesting thing that I can share with you is how Bowditch talks about writing songs. She says songs are something that sort of creep up on you. They kind of build and they want to be written, but you can't sort of rush them. You have to keep checking in on them. And that songs for memories and emotions, they're the perfect containers, she calls them, for these. It's really the only thing she thinks can really do them justice and hold them together. So I found that interesting, her ideas about memories, emotions, and recording them in song. Finally, probably the most important or interesting part of the book is that Clare shows us that recovery from being anxious is possible. In time, it takes time, and you need to find happiness on the other side of your fears. And just importantly, tell people that, look, you're not crazy and that there is help available. So that was a really interesting and important message from the book. But what is it that we can take away from Bowditch's memoir for us as life story writers? The number one thing I thought that was of interest was how she talks about insights into our memory. When she's referring to Rowena's death or Rowena's conditions, she says she has her own memories, but then she's pretty sure she's made some up, and then she's got input from, or she's been influenced, her memories have been influenced by her siblings as well. So she's really confused about the true memories, and she gives us all the different accounts in the book, and she's really open and honest about what she thinks could be true and what's made up. And I thought that was really valuable, because memories are like that, they're unpredictable, unreliable. So I think she's laid that out for the reader to then draw their own conclusions. So that was a good takeaway. Second of all, is she's been a really great example of tackling these difficult and painful topics. Of course, we had Rowena's death. There's her battling with dieting and weight gain, and the bullying that goes on with that. Then there's, of course, there's relationships, there's breakups, and then there's this major breakdown when she's in England, and where she actually says she feared for her own life and that the lives of others. She wasn't sure how unpredictable she was going to be. So, I mean, this is incredibly raw stuff to talk about so publicly. So I think she's done a fabulous job of addressing these painful topics with real heart and sincerity. So I think that comes across. But of course, having a really strong mission, knowing her why or who she's writing for, has probably really helped with that. I think that's a really good message for us to take away as life story writers, because she knows that she's got a mission. She wants to tell people, look, you're not alone like I felt, like with this condition, with this anxious condition, and that hope and help is available. So that was really powerful. Having a mission and tying it to who you're writing about, that strong why, is really essential when we're writing life stories, whether that's an autobiography, a memoir, a biography, or some other life story project. So that's pretty much what one ARIA Award winner's memoir is about dieting, it's about breakdowns and beating these anxious thoughts. So to recap, I've talked a little bit about what the book was about, the interesting parts as a reader, and then the interesting takeaways for us as life story writers. And if it's really that my hope is that you will see the power of life stories in helping others and giving them hope. So we really do have a really important thing to do when we're writing, and I think that Bowditch really shows that to us in her own work. Now, everything I've talked about is on my website. There's an article there waiting for you. It's at foreveryoungautographies.com/Clare Bowditch, and I will have the links to that in the show notes for you. So pop over there, you can see a cover of the book. I've got some quotes from the book, links to resources, say for example on finding your why for writing and dealing with painful topics in your writing. There's lots of things over there, so please go and check it out. Also, let me know, what did you think of the book? Are you going to read the book? Maybe you've got another book you'd like me to review. Leave me a comment at the website or even send me an email about anything to do with life story writing. Go to foreveryoungautographies.com/contact. At the top of the show, I mentioned the Your Family Story system, which is a step-by-step process that I walk you through to interview a loved one. So I did this with my grandmother. She's 101. We wrote her life story, but I've done it countless times as a journalist over the decades, interviewing people for various stories. So I know what works and what doesn't work, and I share that with you in the Your Family Story system. To get the free sections for that, to get a bit of an idea of what it's all about, you can go to foreveryoungautographies.com/free. Put in your email, hit OK, and I'll send you the link to those free sections. So I will be back again soon with another topic, and I would love it if you could follow, subscribe, like the show, even share it with a friend who you think might find it valuable. That really does help people discover Forever Young autobiographies. So until then, happy writing.